The greatest lie ever sold to ambitious people is that success requires support, that you need encouragement, validation, a team, or someone to believe in you before you move. That lie was created by people who never learned how to stand alone. The truth is far more uncomfortable. Real power is born in isolation, and those who learn to function without support become untouchable. When you have zero support, no one claps for you. No one checks on you. No one cares whether you win or fail. And this is exactly where most people break. But Machiavelli would tell you this is not a disadvantage. This is the purest training ground for dominance. You must understand this first. The world is not against you, but it is not on your side either. People act in their own interest. Today, they ignore you. Tomorrow, if you rise, they will claim they always believed in you. If you wait for approval before acting, you have already surrendered your power. A man who measures his worth by the opinions of others will never control his destiny. When no one supports you, you are forced to define your value yourself, and that is dangerous. Because once a person stops seeking permission, they stop being controllable. Zero support removes excuses. You cannot blame your family. You cannot blame society. You cannot blame bad luck. There is only one reality left: adapt or disappear. This pressure either crushes you or forges you into something disciplined, precise, and relentless. The modern world tells you to stay positive, to stay motivated, to follow your emotions. Machiavelli rejected this weakness. He understood that emotions cloud judgment. When you have no support, you cannot afford emotional thinking. You must become cold enough to think clearly and sharp enough to act decisively. People do not respect effort. They respect strength. Sympathy is given to the weak. Respect is reserved for those who survive without help. When you fall and no one reaches out, understand this. Life is teaching you self-reliance, and self-reliance is the foundation of authority. The most dangerous person is not the most talented, but the one who no longer fears loss. Zero support takes away the fear of losing everything, because you already have nothing. And when fear disappears, bold decisions become possible. Ruthless clarity replaces hesitation. You must learn to work in silence. Do not announce your plans. Do not explain your process. Do not explain your process. People only react to outcomes, not intentions. While others talk, you calculate. While others seek validation, you build leverage. Discipline becomes non-negotiable when no one is watching. You wake up without encouragement. You work without praise. You continue without reassurance. This stage destroys most people because there is no feedback, only silence. But silence sharpens perception. Silence teaches observation. Silence reveals who is real and who is performative. Isolation exposes human nature. You begin to see who only supports winners and who disappears at the first sign of struggle. Machiavelli understood this well. Loyalty is rare, self-interest is common, and a wise person plans accordingly. There is a time for kindness and a time for hardness. But when you are building from nothing, softness is a luxury you cannot afford. First, you must establish your position. First, you must make yourself necessary. Power grants freedom. Weakness invites exploitation. Loneliness is not a flaw. It is a weapon when used correctly. Alone, you think deeper. Alone, you focus longer. Alone, you are not distracted by noise, opinions, or emotional manipulation. Focus is what separates ordinary people from those who dominate outcomes. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone belongs on your path. Some people exist only to drain energy and delay progress. Machiavelli treated relationships as strategy, not sentiment. Access must be earned, not given freely. Control your image. Speak less. Let results create confusion. Mystery amplifies authority. When you deliver outcomes without explanation, people assign power to you automatically. There will be moments when you doubt yourself. This is unavoidable. Doubt is not weakness. It is proof that you are operating beyond comfort. Those who never doubt themselves never challenge their limits. True independence commands respect. When people see that you do not rely on them, they begin to value you. Dependence creates vulnerability. Self-sufficiency creates leverage. Most people complain. Most people blame. Most people blame. Very few endure quietly, and fewer still rise without witnesses. Those are the ones who rewrite their fate. If today you have no support, be grateful, because when you succeed, you will know it was not given to you. It was taken through discipline, patience, and calculated resilience. And what is earned in isolation cannot be easily taken away. There will come a moment when you realize something unsettling. No one is coming to save you. Not your friends, not your family, not society. This realization feels brutal at first, but Machiavelli would call it a moment of awakening. Because the instant you stop expecting rescue, you stop being weak. People who rely on support subconsciously negotiate with life. They work only as long as encouragement exists. They stay disciplined only while someone is watching. But when the applause disappears, so does their effort. This is why most people collapse in silence. They were never trained to operate without witnesses. When you succeed with zero support, you develop a different psychology. You stop asking, will this work? And start asking, what is the cost if I hesitate? You stop needing motivation and start relying on structure. Motivation is emotional. Structure is power. Machiavelli understood that strength is not loud. It does not announce itself. It moves quietly and reveals itself only when necessary. When you build without support, you learn to keep your ambitions hidden. You learn that exposure invites interference. Privacy protects momentum. At some point, you will notice that being ignored is an advantage. No expectations mean no pressure to perform for others. No labels mean freedom to reinvent yourself. No reputation means you can experiment without consequences. The unnoticed man has room to evolve. This is why history's most powerful figures were misunderstood, underestimated, or dismissed before they rose. Their enemies did not prepare for them. Their critics did not monitor them. Their silence made them unpredictable, and unpredictability is leverage. You must also accept this uncomfortable truth. Fairness does not exist at the level of power. The world does not reward effort. It rewards results. Complaining about injustice only reveals that you are still emotionally attached to outcomes you do not control. Machiavelli would advise you to study reality, not protest it. When support is absent, you learn efficiency. You waste less time. You make fewer emotional decisions. You become ruthless with priorities. Everything unnecessary is cut away. Comfort, distractions, sentimental attachments. What remains is a sharpened version of yourself. You begin to understand that confidence is not loud self-belief. It is quiet certainty built through repetition. Doing the work when no one cares. Improving when no one notices. Preparing when no reward is visible. This is how unshakable confidence is formed. There will be moments when resentment tries to creep in. When you see others advance through connections, favoritism, or luck. This is a test. Envy clouds judgment. Focus restores it. Every minute spent resenting others is a minute stolen from your own rise. Zero support also teaches emotional control. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You stop defending yourself. You learn that silence unsettles people more than arguments ever could. Haman Fuda. Those who talk too much reveal insecurity. Those who move quietly project authority. Eventually, people will sense the shift. They won't know what changed, but they will feel it. Your presence will be different, calmer, heavier, more deliberate. And this is when the same people who ignored you begin to orbit you. Be careful here. Machiavelli warned that late loyalty is often opportunism. Not everyone who returns deserves access. Remember who vanished when you were invisible. Remember who doubted when you were building. Power is not about revenge, but it is about memory. When success arrives without support, it does something irreversible to your identity. You no longer need to prove yourself. You no longer chase validation. You no longer fear isolation. You have survived it. and survival breeds dominance. This is why those who rise alone are difficult to control. They are not afraid of exclusion. They are not afraid of disapproval. They are not afraid of starting over. Threats lose power over someone who has already endured nothingness. Understand this clearly. Zero support is not permanent. It is a phase, but the mindset it creates must be permanent. Never return to dependence. Never confuse companionship with necessity. Allies are valuable, but autonomy is sacred. Machiavelli believed that fortune favors those prepared to act without reassurance. Those who wait for alignment miss opportunity. Those who act decisively shape outcomes. History does not remember who felt ready. It remembers who moved. If you are walking this path now, alone, doubted, unseen, do not rush it. This stage is building something inside you that cannot be taught, gifted, or borrowed. You are learning how to stand when no one is holding you up. And one day when support suddenly appears, when people claim they always believed in you, you will smile quietly, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity, because you will know the truth. You were never supported. You were forged. At some stage, you stop asking why life is hard on you. That question belongs to people who still believe they are special. Machiavelli would say this without apology. Hardship is not personal. It is selective. Pressure exists to separate those who can carry power from those who collapse under it. When you have no support, time becomes your only ally. You begin to respect it. You stop wasting it on conversations that lead nowhere. You stop explaining your pain to people who cannot use it. You invest time the way generals invest resources, carefully, deliberately, without emotion. You also learn something brutal about hope. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is what weak people cling to when they refuse to act. Action is the only currency that matters. And action, repeated in isolation, builds momentum that no encouragement ever could. There will be nights when exhaustion speaks louder than ambition. Nights when quitting feels logical, even intelligent. Machiavelli would not comfort you here. He would remind you that most empires died because their leaders listened to comfort instead of necessity. Zero support forces honesty. You cannot lie to yourself for long when no one is validating your delusions. Either you are progressing or you are not. Either your system works or it fails. This clarity is cruel, but it is powerful. You start to understand why most people avoid solitude. Alone, there is no distraction from truth. Your weaknesses become obvious. Your discipline is exposed. Your excuses lose their audience. But those who endure this confrontation emerge sharper, quieter, and far more capable than before. When you succeed without support, you do not celebrate loudly. You do not seek revenge. You do not lecture others. You observe. Power watches more than it speaks. Machiavelli knew that the moment you feel the need to prove strength, you have already weakened it. Something else changes too. You stop romanticizing struggle. Pain is not noble, it is simply necessary. You do not suffer for meaning, you suffer to build capacity. And once capacity is built, suffering becomes optional. You also learn to detach from outcomes emotionally. Wins do not inflate you, losses do not break you. This emotional neutrality terrifies people because they cannot predict you. Predictability is safety. Unpredictability is control. At this point, manipulation stops working on you. Guilt loses its grip. Praise no longer intoxicates you. Criticism barely reaches you. You have lived too long without external feedback to be moved by it now. People will mistake your calm for arrogance. Let them. Misinterpretation is often protection. When people misunderstand you, they stop trying to control you. Machiavelli believed that power must always be defended, even from friends, especially from friends. When you rise alone, you learn that silence preserves strength better than justification ever could. At this stage, emotions become tools, not masters. Anger is redirected into momentum. Fear is converted into preparation. Doubt is used as a signal to improve systems, not abandon them. Nothing is wasted. Everything is repurposed. People who have always had support panic when it disappears. People who built without it remain stable under pressure. This is why crises elevate certain individuals while destroying others. Pressure does not create character. It reveals it. You begin to see the world differently, not morally, strategically. You stop asking who deserves what and start asking what works. Morality is personal. Outcomes are objective. Machiavelli focused on outcomes because outcomes shape reality. As your independence grows, so does your restraint. Those meant to recognize your value will do so through outcomes, not explanations. Everyone else's noise. You also stop sharing pain. Pain shared too freely becomes entertainment for others. Pain endured privately becomes strength. Machiavelli never trusted emotional exposure. Vulnerability without leverage is self-sabotage. The longer you walk alone, the more you realize that solitude sharpens judgment. Group thinking dulls it. Consensus creates comfort, not truth. Many of history's worst decisions were made collectively. The most decisive were made in isolation. You begin to feel a distance between yourself and ordinary reactions. Panic seems unnecessary. Outrage feels inefficient. Emotional chaos looks childish. This is not superiority, it is adaptation. At some point, you will be tempted to slow down to enjoy how far you've come. Be careful here. The greatest lie ever sold to ambitious people is that success requires support. That you need encouragement, validation, a team, or someone to believe in you before you move. That lie was created by people who never learned how to stand alone. The truth is far more uncomfortable. Mystery amplifies authority. When you deliver outcomes without explanation, people assign power to you automatically. There will be moments when you doubt yourself. This is unavoidable. Doubt is not weakness. It is proof that you are operating beyond comfort. Eventually, people will sense the shift. They won't know what changed, but they will feel it. Your presence will be different, calmer, heavier, more deliberate. And this is when the same people who ignored you begin to orbit you. Be careful here. You do not suffer for meaning. You suffer to build capacity. And once capacity is built, suffering becomes optional. You also learn to detach from outcomes emotionally. Wins do not inflate you. Losses do not break you. This emotional neutrality terrifies people because they cannot predict you. When you rise alone, you learn that silence preserves strength better than justification ever could. At this stage, emotions become tools, not masters. Anger is redirected into momentum. Fear is converted into preparation. Doubt is used as a signal to improve systems, not abandon them. Those meant to recognize your value will do so through outcomes, not explanations. Everyone else's noise. You also stop sharing pain. Pain shared too freely becomes entertainment for others. Pain endured privately becomes strength. Machiavelli never trusted emotional exposure.